Alright, for your test corrections this time, we're going to go through some of the most common mistakes I saw on your quiz yesterday. Okay, so we're just going to start with the first one. On number 1, it says Belinda brought lemonade to serve at her birthday party. The graph models the relationship between the number of glasses of lemonade served and the amount of lemonade remaining. Okay, so I see that amount of lemonade and then how many glasses have been served. Okay. The question at the bottom says, how many ounces of lemonade did Belinda begin with? Okay, I've already kind of cubed this. How many ounces? I know I can find the ounces on the y-axis. I see that label. Okay, and it says begin. So I want you to think, where am I going to look to find how many ounces we begin with? Okay, what is it asking me to find? Go ahead and pause the video and decide, what is it asking me to find? Okay. If it's asking you where you begin, it's asking you, what is your y-intercept? Okay. That's where your line is starting here. Okay. It's starting at 0 glasses served. We're starting up here between 300 and 350. Okay. Now here is where the mistake started. I saw most people narrow it down to this point. Okay. There's 2 things that happened. All right. The first one being, what number is that? Okay, I want you to pause the video in a second and figure out what are the intervals counting by. So I would look down here. I would always look down by your origin. So from 0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the 5th one, we hit 50. Okay, so what do you think just going up 1 tick mark is counting by? Go ahead and pause and go count. Okay, if you counted and figured it out, you would have seen that 0 can jump to 10, 20, 30, 40, then 50. Okay, these are counting by tens. All right, so this one's on that second tick mark. So you're going up 300, 310, 320. Okay, if you narrowed it down to 320, congratulations. You did a really good job figuring out your intervals. Okay, if you estimated, you did a really good job being reasonable, but know that you can always, they will always give you a way to figure out that specific interval. Okay. So that was the first part. I had some people estimate. Most of you got to 320. Okay. So we know our point right here is 320. So we know she began with 320. But I had a lot of people, okay, say that we began with negative 320. All right. I want you to take a second and think. There is something very wrong with this. Okay. And I had a lot of people make this mistake. So what is wrong with this? Why do you think we made this mistake? Go ahead and pause the video and think about it. Okay. They saw we had a negative slope. Okay. They saw my slope is going down. Okay. If I write my name on it, I'm writing my name moving down the page. Okay. Negative slope. So they saw negative slope. I have to put a negative on my number. Okay. Is this representing your slope? No, this is your y-intercept. It does not need to be negative, okay? You put the value of the number. This happens to be a positive 320, okay? You can start positive and then have a negative slope. That's okay, all right? So you should have bubbled this as a positive 320. Okay, we're going to move on to number 2. All right, number 2 is one that we actually... ton of people made some really little mistakes. Okay, so the first thing I want you to look at, make sure you've read it at least twice. We've cubed it while you're testing. Make sure those are things that you do when you test. Okay, it says Mrs. Belcher put gasoline in her car. The graph below shows the relationship between gas remaining in the tank. That's her y. I see that. Okay, as the time passes, her x. So time is her x. Okay, I see that. All right. So I know at 0 hours, she has 18 gallons, okay? And then it's dropping as time passes. All right. Those are some things that we notice. What is the rate of change of Mrs. Belcher's graph? All right. What is rate of change asking you to find? Is it asking you for y-intercept? Is it asking you for a pretty point? Is it asking you for a slope? What are you thinking? Okay. Go ahead and pause if you don't know. Go look in your journal for those keywords rate of change and see where you find it. Okay. Rate of change is another way that we just ask you for slope. Okay. Those are the two things they'll ask on your graph. If we're asking for a y-intercept, we'll say, where did it begin? What was it at the start? Things like that. But if we're asking how it's changing, how is your graph changing, we're usually asking for the slope, okay? So finding slope on a graph, they already gave you 2 pretty points. You could use any 2. So if you chose to use 2 different ones, that's fine, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and tell you that a lot of people make very little mistakes. You could draw it this way, or you could draw it underneath, all right? Go ahead and find what you think the slope of this graph is. Do your rise over your run. What do you think it is? Okay. At this point, I'm going to tell you the first mistake that I saw people make was they chose G. They said it is a negative slope, and the slope is 1.5. Okay, they got 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2 is their slope. Okay, if you counted this and you saw, okay, well, I rose 3, and then I went over 2, well, 3 over 2 is the same as negative 1.5 if you type it in your calculator, okay? I'm going to tell you that's not quite right. Go back and check again, okay? What could make you count wrong? Make sure you checked your intervals, okay? All right. This isn't quite right. This is if you're counting them each by moving by ones, okay? My x's is counting by 1. Okay, I saw a lot of people label this on your paper. This is a great way to start looking at your graphs, all right? On my y-axis, what are we counting by? We're counting by 2's, okay? So my rise is actually going to be going up 2 every time. So from 6 all the way up to 12, okay? You could say the distance from 6 to 12 is 6. Or you could say it's 2, 4, 6. You could count by those 2's. Either way, your rise is 6, okay, not 3. Make sure you're paying attention to your intervals. Your x is counting by 1, so you are moving over 1, 2. Okay, and you can also see we're going from 4 to 2. All right, we're going backwards 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, okay? So I had a lot of people come over and they picked h. I'm going to tell you that's not quite right. Why is that not quite right? Okay. What is the slope of our graph? If you write your name down it, my name is moving down. My slope is negative, okay? When you're counting your rise and your run, if you're moving up, okay, you're moving up towards positives. This is a positive up. If you're moving to the left towards negative, that would be a negative run, okay? And if this part is confusing, know that you always have to go back and say, if I write my name down, is it going to be positive or negative? And double check yourself, okay? This needs to be a negative slope. If you picked H, then you just missed that one tiny little thing. It is 3, okay? You got your intervals right, but it's negative, okay? All right, lastly, okay? This is something that I saw most of us got this, but there were quite a few students who did this. Let me show you, okay? 2 lines graphed on the coordinate grid, each representing an equation. Yep, cool. Which ordered pair best represents a solution to both? Okay. Solution to both would be your keywords telling you you're looking for simultaneously satisfies. Sorry, and that ordered pair should tell you you're looking for that one point. Okay. The one point that goes with both of these equations is where they cross. Okay. Right here. All right. Most of you remembered that and narrowed it down. Okay, this is what I saw. I saw a lot of students say that this point, okay, was called 4, -2. I had a bunch of people pick A. It is not at 4, -2. Why is that wrong? Okay. This is not quite right. Your ordered pairs are always written with what variable first? Your x, then your y. Okay. Your ordered pair is in alphabetical order. Alpha order. Okay. It's an ordered pair. It's in order. Alphabetical order. If you're going through the alphabet, element of P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay. This is alphabetical order. So the first one needs to be your x value. If this is your x-axis, Okay, we're going to pick the number that it lines up with along the x-axis first. So what number does this point line up with along the x-axis? Okay, you should see it goes straight down to -2. Okay, so this point is at -2. That's our x. All right, and then you pick the point, the number it lines up with along our y-axis. Okay, what number does it line up with along our y-axis? Okay. Remember, for those points, you're just looking at straight across. What do they run into? You're not looking at your equations anymore. This point lines up straight with 4. So this is at -2, +4. Okay? All right. So if people picked A, they fell for swapping their coordinates, their x's and their y's. This one should have been C. All right.